Welcome to today's SeafoodNews.com video, sponsored by the Alaska Seafood Marketing Institute.
Good morning. This is the second day of NFI's Global Seafood Market Conference here in Las Vegas. And the conference has really grown a lot. There's over 450 people here. And what makes it different from so many other industry meetings is that the people here are pretty candid about their opinions about what's happening with the various seafood commodities, and we get into it in detail. So I want to throw out about 3 highlights from some of the discussions so far, at least the panels that I've been able to attend. On shrimp, there's a very clear consensus that after several years of supply constraints driven by EMS, there's been a significant global recovery. And what we're seeing in this coming year is pretty much an abundant supply of shrimp, and it's going to turn into a question of how to market this shrimp and how to increase U.S. consumption. Everybody in the shrimp session yesterday very much agreed there was a lag time before consumers would start to see the benefit of some of these lower prices, and overcoming and shortening that lag is probably the most important thing determining the market. Another interesting thing that came out in the salmon panel again pointed towards lower prices for salmon. We all know that there's an increased harvest forecast for Bristol Bay sockeye. There won't be Fraser River sockeye this year, but there's going to be a lot of pressure in the market, particularly due to carryover inventory, to sell sockeye fillets and fresh sockeye as much as possible, but also to make sure you're not having too long a position on frozen inventory. How this is going to play out with pricing in Bristol Bay is very hard to anticipate, because there's so many other factors that go into setting prices to the boats in Alaska. But the other shoe in salmon, which we didn't really feel this year, is Russia. After the Russian ban on Norwegian salmon, the Russians were able to fulfill a lot of their needs by buying salmon from Faroe Islands, over 60,000 tons. And the problem is the money they were buying that with was oil money. So when the price of oil drops 50%, all of a sudden on the ruble and the Russian economy, it's really unclear if they're going to be able to absorb that amount of salmon from an international market. And if that's the case, as one of the panelists said, where is that salmon going to go? So we might see quite a lot of pressure on salmon due to the cutoff of Russian buying, which is really a large part of the international market. Finally, several political things came up which we really need to take note of. On shrimp, there's a real danger of a resurgence of anti-dumping issues and trade issues this year, because the combination of vastly increased imports and lower prices, even though it's a normal market activity, is exactly the kind of thing that looks like an exposure or a risk to somebody in the Department of Commerce who's pushing dumping duties. The other political thing was mentioned in the tuna mahi panel, which is one of the panelists who does a lot to promote and sell Gulf seafood is really concerned that the recreational lobby and the sort of power of the recreational interest over the commercial interest in the Gulf can potentially take away the ability to market domestic species like snapper and grouper, and the Gulf could end up being an area that loves its local seafood, but it can't buy its local seafood because the commercial industry has been so squeezed down. Anyway, that's some of the things that people are talking about. In Las Vegas, Nevada, this is John Sackton.
Today's SeafoodNews.com video was brought to you by the Alaska Seafood Marketing Institute. Alaska has been protecting wild and sustainable seafood for generations and adheres to the most recognized and internationally accepted set of guidelines written by the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization. For recipes and additional information, visit wildalaskaflavor.com.